mga kaibigan! Welcome to another episode of In My Toolbox. You're listening, of course, to me. My name is Enrico Pobre. I'm going to be your host on this show. And then, of course, guys, in everything that's going to come out in this particular show, always consult with your insurance professionals, business advisors, tax consultants, etc., etc. Of course, ang ating mga topic is very relevant to today's economy and situation. Mga kaibigan, just with regard to our show today, we would be discussing a very good topic, which is most of you maybe would be able to relate. It's all about, is it really a good investment with regard to real estate in the Philippines? Kumbaga, mga kaibigan, this is about a question, is it really good to invest in real estate in the Philippines? So, I want to make sure that you guys, understand this one, that investing in real estate in the Philippines can be, of course, lucrative, and it can be promising, and this can be an opportunity for a lot of reasons, And then, of course, the Philippines nowadays, comparison to what, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, today, the country actually offers a combination of, one, economic growth. Number two, well, we are actually in a growing population, right? Over 100 million people right now in the Philippines, and there's a robust of tourism industry. And of course, well, this is going to be a it's up to you how you're going to be looking at it. But for me, I think we actually have a favorable government policies that will actually make it very attractive for, a destination for a real estate investment. So most of you listening to me right now, of course, you're mostly here in Vegas, and the rest of the listeners are going to be all over the world. So the question we go back to, is it really good to invest in real estate in the Philippines? Well, investing again in the Philippines, again, it's very rewarding. It's actually a great move for investors, definitely, who understands the market's landscape. Why is it that it's actually lucrative in the Philippines? Or why is it not lucrative in the Philippines? And of course, someone that, if you know how to navigate real estate investment in the Philippines, with the country's, of course, again, growing economy, and of course, there's a lot of demand on quality commercial and residential properties nowadays, versus 20, 30 years ago. And then, of course, when you say investment, you're looking at a question of, what are my potential for returns, especially if it's actually considered as a high investment. Well, why do investors, of course, want to invest in the Philippines? Well, again, we've mentioned in a very short time of discussing about why is it good to invest in the Philippines, is that, Philippines now is actually considered one of the top investment destination in the world, or in Asia, if you want to use it that way, because there's actually an average of about 6% economic growth in the Philippines. Well, in economics, guys, that's a very strong macroeconomics fundamentals. And of course, we spoke about the political stability there now, which is actually tools to make a very attractive investment location. Not only as an investor, this is also for businesses. And now maybe the question is, well, okay, it is good to invest in the Philippines. So what are going to be the, the reason or things to consider in when you are actually investing in the Philippine real estate? So, of course, again, we mentioned about, a great way of increasing your net worth or your wealth, but then again, we have to make sure that we have this checklist that you'll be able to consider first before you even go to the Philippines and start investing, right? So, mga kaibigan, I was just there a few weeks ago in the Philippines, and, in reality, really, there's really a huge amount of investment properties in the Philippines that you would want to consider. And different developers have different strategies and different approaches on how it could be very lucrative for an investment or investors like you, So there's actually, well, you and me, we already know Philippines, it could be a home to many beautiful beaches, right? And then there's a lot of pristine islands there. And of course, to consider, Philippines is a very rich cultural heritage. We have that very rich cultural heritage. But nonetheless, guys, when I spoke to one developer there, they have a very good marketing strategy on how to own a condominium or a this fractional ownership of a hotel, or there's a lot of strategies there that you have guys to go out there and you have to make your own due diligence, what is actually good for you or what fits your business idea or your investment idea. Again, aside from the tourism industry in the Philippines, now Philippines is actually now becoming an attractive destination again for real estate. Not only that us Filipinos or locals, right, are the ones investing, even foreign investors are considering the Philippines as what you call a profitable market for real estate. And then again, of course, the country is actually now experiencing, what I mentioned a while ago, sustainable growth. And of course, there's a sign of a demand for quality residential and commercial spaces in the major cities. What are the major cities in the Philippines? Well, of course, Metro Manila is going to be there, right? Or, no, sorry, Makati City is actually one. Alabang is actually one. Even in the south, Cebu, and I've even heard, growth going on in Iloilo, just to name a few. Even where I came from the north, I'm telling you right now, there's a boom in real estate in the far north, right? Or the top north of Luzon. So this is actually an opportune time to invest in Philippine real estate if that's the case. So as I've mentioned, what are the key things in investing in Philippine real estate? Of course, you're talking about real estate is location. Well, basically, location is the key. Where the property is located is one of the most important factors when you actually buy a property or invest in a property in real estate. Of course, most people will look at prime locations. Before, it's actually easy to determine what the prime location are, Manila or Makati, now you can actually look prime locations all over the Philippines, if you know what I mean, right? So again, I mentioned about Manila, Quezon City, Makati, even Cebu, right? So properties in these areas are now often considered as high yield returns on investment due to, of course, a sign of the increasing demand. Of course, this is basic supply and demand, right? So, and then the other thing that you would want to consider is the proximity to business and educational institutions. So when I was looking at a property there in the Philippines, in fact, those are one of the things that I was considering, hey, how far am I from, whatever your requirement is, right? So school, education, if you got small kids, or how far am I to a commercial business area if you're actually a business person, or healthcare, how far is it in a hospital, so these are the things that you would want to ask, about the proximity of these things in the location that you're considering. So of course, one of the best advantages in investing in the Philippine real estate, as I've known or I've researched, is that they actually are, a lot of these properties are within the proximity of those requirements. So it's actually located near universities, business districts, or other government offices, if that's the priority that you have. And then these things definitely can lead to a greater returns on investment because of those location or what actually is in the proximity of your property. So again, the question, is it really good to invest in the Philippines? You have to do your due diligence. But just for me, look at this key checklist that you would want to consider just before you buy one. Again, the other one is accessibility to public transportation or main highways. Can you imagine now people in let's just say in Manila, let's just say Binondo, is a very, very I bet there's really not enough of space in Binondo right now that you could actually buy, but business people in Binondo can easily now invest in the southern part of Greater Manila. Why? Because of what? Accessibility to main highways. So that's exactly what I mean. But a few years ago, you wouldn't even think people from those areas would even invest in South. I remember, guys, when I was there a few weeks ago, during my time when I used to visit Laguna, going to the north to Gigarao, I had to trek EDSA. But now there's this major highway that connects the south and the north. So again, accessibility is actually another key of your checklist of Well, is it a good place to invest? That's exactly what I mean. Accessibility to major thoroughways or main highways, or even public transportation. The accessibility of the properties is very, very essential. The reason why, of course, is obvious. It makes transportation easier and more convenient for you and me, right? So this is very important, especially for potential, if you would want to have it rented out, potential tenants or buyers who doesn't have any cars at all, and it could happen. And now, the location with transportation or main highways are desirable of a property, and definitely it's a desirable investment. Okay. Another thing to consider aside from all of those things, right? So low crime rate. Well, raise your hands. If you actually consider crime rates, of course, it's an automatic one of those checklists that you would want to have. The key factor, okay, in investing in real estate in the Philippines is the crime rate in the area. Just like here, when I moved in the United States, when I was in the East Coast, that's the first thing that I checked on, right? And when I was here in Vegas, that's the first thing that I checked on too before I moved here 6 years ago. So the low crime neighborhoods provides a safe and secure environment, that potential tenants and buyers would actually prefer, right? So that's going to be you and me. That's what we prefer. That's a safe environment for your family. Now, it's very important to research local crime rates wherever you are. Anyway, this is applicable, right? So now, just before you invest, check your area. Again, location is the key, and all of these things are actually attached to it. Now, this is actually but in the investment side of your purchases, this will have an effect on the value of your property that you're going to buy. Now, Philippines, definitely, you and me know this one, has become increasingly safe and secure in the recent years. Well, it may be debatable at the moment, but I know most of you guys would agree that we could safely say that it's secured for the last recent years. And now, because of that, it's making your property an ideal location for what? For real estate investment, right? So now, these are actually some checklists that you would want to consider, mga kaibigan. And I've seen that. I went all over. I spoke to a lot of developers when I was there a few weeks ago, because I myself is looking for a property to invest on, and definitely this checklist actually helped me a lot, for whatever purpose that investment would be for me. All right. So another thing that you would want to consider is to look for to look for house and lot deals. There's a lot there. In fact, I've seen those too. I even went to a couple of properties there. And one of the best way to invest there is, what if I invest house and lot, not in a condominium? So you try to find properties that come with additional amenities. I went to a property that's long been developed. The first thing that I looked for was, what is it, a gated community? It can be a good one, right? That's going to be a good checklist for those house and lot that you're looking for. Are there amenities there, like swimming pool or a you have your checklist definitely when you're looking for house and lot deals. And the features of this will not only provide extra value to your investment property, but it can actually be a very good tool to attract potential tenants and buyers. So if you can opt to purchase house and lot, and maybe in Cavite, the city in Cavite offers a lot of numerous residential and commercial properties, because the proximity in Cavite, there's going to be schools, there's going to be hospitals over there. I'm just naming a place for you guys that has close properties close to business districts, and there's education institution also, as I was saying, and there are actual near public transportation in the major thoroughways. So, and of course, maybe you would want to see, hey, what's the crime rate in Cavite? Maybe it's generally low, and it's making it ideal for investors. So again, there can be a lot of house and lot packages in Cavite area. Just to give you an idea. It can be Laguna, it can be anywhere else, as long as you know your checklist. Of course, once you are into it, you already know what you're going to be going to invest on. The next thing is to know your financing options. In the Philippines right now, it has a lot of financing options. And this will actually be able to help you or interested investors to purchase properties because there's financing options. And all of these options or each of these options has its own requirements. And of course, interest rates is going to be one of those big questions that you would be asking if you opt to have those financed. And it's very important that you explore your options, mga kaibigan, to be able to find the best deal for your investment. Okay? So it can be what? Number one, bank loans. And banks should be, well, it's considered the most common financing financing for real estate investment. And then you look for banks that offers competitive rates and that has flexible repayment options, and of course, making it easy for you, to manage the finances that they're going to be offering you. Other banks often require high credit score or maybe collateral before the approved loan. This is applicable in the US, but of course they're going to be looking for your if you have we call it the CMAP, Credit Management Association of the Philippines. If you're delinquent at the time. So of course these are just some items that will allow them to lend you money, of course, right? These are the bank processes. Or you would want to look for another financing options, housing development mutual funds. You investors or people like you that would want to invest in the Philippines, you can avail of those housing development mutual funds or HDMF. It's popularly known as Pag-ibig. This is a government program that provides loans for real estate investment. They have low interest rate and they have flexible repayment terms. To be eligible, you have to register in the HDMF, and you should at least be contributing to it for at least 24 months. Right? So another option for your financing when you would want to invest in the Philippines is an in-house financing. I've seen this one. I've seen people are actually availing of this. Depends on the company that you are dealing with. Some real estate developers in the Philippines offer in-house financing for investors. And maybe you're looking for a more budget-friendly option. So in-house financing, you can actually do arrangements that, that depends again, of course, the interest. But if they offer low interest and longer repayment terms, more than the traditional bank, that will be great too, right? So it will actually, at the end of the day, make your finances or to manage your finances easier. And of course, some developers also offers a lot of discounts or incentives to investors who would like to avail in-house financing. So you would want to make sure that you give your due diligence before investing in this property. Again, it can be a condominium or it can be a house and lot or even a farm, right? That depends. You just have to know where you would want to put your money when you invest in real estate in the Philippines. There are a lot of great people out there, guys, to have utilize for their resources or their knowledge about investing in real estate. Again, the question is it really good? The way I look at it when I was there, it is really lucrative and it's still lucrative and very rewarding for investors like you and me, to invest in the Philippines. You just have to understand the market's landscape and you are able to navigate it. That's the key. You have to understand it first. Just don't jump into it. You have to understand it and then, have that confidence of investing in the Philippines. Well, again, the major thing here is the Philippines is a growing economy. That's the one thing that that you would like to look at. And then the historical data that actually provides you or that tells you that there's actually demand for quality commercial and residential properties in the Philippines. Of course, number 3, when you invest, what are we looking for? The potential return. What are the data or the data that actually helps you look at, investing in the Philippines because of the potential for the returns on investment if it's really high, right? Again, remember again, guys, not only those that I mentioned that you would want to consider. Again, just to wrap it up, location, location, location. That's very important. What's your financing option? Not only that, hey, I can afford it right now, but when the time comes, oh, I do not have my financing option. That's the other thing before you put yourself into that situation. Of course, you're considering the infrastructure. Who's doing this? What kind? What company? What's their integrity in putting up this projects? Especially in condominiums, most are sold pre-selling. So you would want to understand the company's background really, really, really deep, right? So of course they're all ready for occupancy. They call it the RFOs. Of course you would see it already, but mostly people buy nothing yet. You're just actually purchasing a dream investment. You just have to make sure that you give your due diligence in knowing the company that you are dealing with. The market demand is actually a good data to see that people are really investing in the Philippines. Of course, you would want to make sure that you talk to a very reliable agent that represents a reliable company, and then by doing so, you can now make the most out of your Philippine real estate investment. So mga kaibigan, it's actually going to be a very short, talk today, because this is exactly what I've experienced when I was back there 3 weeks ago. I really actually immersed myself to how, people look at real estate investment in the Philippines. That's why I want to make sure that I talk to you guys about this one. Because the housing market in the Philippines has showed resilience and growth in the Philippine economy. And this is not only just because that I was there and saw it in firsthand, just by doing research and asking yourself, what is actually the future of real estate in the Philippines? Now you will have all the confidence of investing real estate in the Philippines. Now, not only for today, you will want to look at, in the next 5 years or 10 years. And what is the expected to come out of your real estate in the next 5 or 10 years, and how has it been related to historical data? Because, again, I mentioned the annual growth really in the previous years to today is 6%. And this is not Enrico's number. This is about this actually came from the real estate forecast, from the Colliers Global. So there are data out there that you would want to make sure that you do your due diligence and make sure that you understand what is going to be for you when you invest in the Philippines, especially now, 2023, 2024. And most experts are saying, just to support the idea of investing, that the housing market is not expected to crash. That's a good deal too, right? So, because I think the reason behind it, because many homeowners have built up significant equity in their homes. Those people who bought, houses, prior to you guys today, they have actually built a lot of equity already, and that is actually what do you call this? Well, primarily it's an affordability crisis there, right? But high interest rate and inflated home values have made purchasing a home challenging for first-time buyers. But then again, if you have that capacity, I think that's actually a great thing too to consider as one of your investment portfolio. Now, hanggang dito na lang mga kaibigan. I hope I gave you a little bit of an idea. Is it really good to invest in the Philippines again? All right. So mga kaibigan, this is another episode of In My Toolbox. My name again is Enrico Pobre. Signing off.